46 golfers had survived the cut to play the final 2 rounds on Sunday for this year's St Andrews Links Trophy, and the top of the leaderboard had a very international feel. It featured a Dutchman, an Italian, a New Zealander, a Frenchman and 4 Scots, one of whom was Kilmacolm's Matthew Clark. So what were his ambitions and hopes for the day?
It's nice just to be here with some of these guys. Part of the reason I'm still playing these things is because I want to be able to tell my grandkids in years to come that I maybe played in the field or played with a superstar. I played in the year that Rory played here, but didn't play with him. But that's the type of thing that still gets your juices flowing, trying to compete with guys that are going to go on and do wonderful things, because there'll be guaranteed 5 or 6 of these guys that'll be on tour within 3 or 4 years, possibly winning trophies. Debuisson, Dan Husing's on tour. These guys are proper players, and it's nice just to compete. It's a great tournament. We're very fortunate to be allowed. Old Course isn't played on a Sunday very often, apart from the Open and this. So, it's a privilege to be able to play it. It's a privilege to play on a Sunday and hopefully get you somewhere close to the leaderboard.
Trying to stay up at the top of the leaderboard's a tricky business when you find the road hole bunker on 17. But look at that. What a fantastic birdie. Matthew also birdied 18 in his 3rd round, but he'd struggled early on and drifted out of contention in the afternoon, eventually finishing in a tie for 15th, but what a fantastic memory to have on camera there. Further out onto the course, in the 7th, deep in the bunker, Jamie Savage. He'd started the day 3 off the lead, and well, when you hit a bunker like that, perhaps it's not going to be your day, especially when your clubs and your trolley decide to follow you in there. Yeah, it's not the best moment for Jamie. Now, just alongside that, Jack McDonald managed to suppress his laughter long enough to hold out for a par on the 11th, and he was going very well indeed. At that point, he was -8 for the tournament. Now, Jamie managed to recover somewhat, and a nice recovery putt back, but unfortunately his challenge faded, and he finished the day just inside the top 10, tied for 9th on 6 under. Back to 11, and Frenchman Trémeno Bocosan with his tee shot here at the par 3, and he was going very well in the 3rd round, making it round the Old Course in 3 under par. His playing partner, Scotland's Bradley Neal, was also going along nicely. He's had a very consistent season and was relishing the challenge of this tournament here at St Andrews.
The tournament's amazing every year. The setup and the field that they get here is, it is a world-class field every year. And if you win here this week, you've outplayed some of the best players in the world.
Part of the successful Scottish team that won the European Nations Championship, Bradley certainly enjoys the challenge of being in contention towards the end of a tournament, as was shown with positive putting like that. Beautiful birdie 2 here on 7, and he was right in the mix moving into the final round. Looking to climb back up the leaderboard after that sensational 60 on day 1 on the new course was Frenchman Gregoire Shoeb. Here also with a beautiful birdie putt on the 7th. But that was a rare highlight, and Gregoire finished the tournament at 1 under par in a tie for 25th. Leader at the halfway point, Scotland's Grant Forrest had picked up 4 birdies in the opening 10 holes of his 3rd round, but that putt there on the 11th was the first dropped shot of the day. As he moved on to the 12th, that reaction told you everything. Not a great tee shot, and Grant went on to drop another 5 shots over the next 4 holes. That brought him back to the chasing pack, and it could have been quite easy for most golfers to let the head go down, and perhaps it did a little bit for Grant, but with a massive drive in 18 and a real sense of purpose to get something back, Grant picked the lob wedge out the bag and did this. Beautiful eagle 2 and a real touch of class from the young Scot, and that restored both his smile and his position at the top of the leaderboard. His playing partner for the final day was the New Zealander Ty Coe, who had lit up the tournament over the first couple of days. And after a patchy 3rd round, sank a beautiful birdie putt himself to keep himself right in contention. Only 3 shots back from the lead, and with the early starters back out on what was still a very breezy links, the leaders could come in and relax a little, enjoy the facilities, enjoy a sportive lunch, recharge, check out what was going on the leaderboard and get themselves ready for the afternoon's play. But before they did, they might have checked out the leaderboard and saw that Thomas Rowland, who was out in the very first group, had been putting together the best round of the day. He had this birdie putt on the last for a magnificent 7 under par 65 to go to 8 under for the tournament. A great clubhouse lead, but would it be good enough?
I mean, the wind's dropped, so the scoring should be pretty good. I would expect this afternoon. Grant, I think, is a shot ahead right now, or maybe tied, I'm not sure. So I would expect him to shoot a couple under, but you never know. It's a tough finish here.
It is a tough finish on the old course, especially when you're playing for such a big title as this. Bradley Neal, therefore, decided to get some work done early on, and here at the 10th, that was his approach. That putt went in for a birdie, and that took him to 9 under for the tournament, making a charge through the leaderboard. Jack McDonald had also made it to 9 under, but dropped a shot here at the 13th to move back down to 8, but still very much in contention. Now back to some of the internationalists, and Italian Federico Zucchetti had been there or thereabouts for the entire tournament and had adapted well to links golf. A little rescue club chaser up through the undulations onto the green here at 10. He didn't make the birdie putt, but he was still sitting at 8 under and very much in with a chance. Taking a slightly different approach, yes, that is a lob wedge on a green. These are the shots that you have to play in St Andrews at the old course. This was Australia's Antonio Murdaka. He had a final round 69 to finish at 6 under par and a tie for 9th for the tournament. Good improvisation there. Now up to 18, and golfers from France had featured strongly in the tournament this year, but it was Mathieu Deconis-Lafon with a beautiful approach here at 18, ensuring the birdie, that finished the top of the Frenchman, tied for 7th on 7 under. Drama back down at the 17th, and playing out of Lindrick Golf Club, England's Daniel Westoney. And he had found the path with his approach. He was 9 under for the tournament at this point, but didn't quite get the roll off the slope that he was looking for. That resulted in a bogey at 17. He could only par 18, and that meant a tie for 3rd on 8 under par. Also tying for 3rd on 8 under par, Paul Howard. He had a chance to go one better after this approach on the last, but he couldn't hold the putt. A very consistent week though for the golfer from Southport and Ainsdale Golf Club, one of only 3 golfers to play every round in under par. Back down to the 17th, and Jack McDonald, who had been in contention, he missed the road hole bunker, but he left himself a very tricky 3rd shot back onto the green, and the slope taking the ball away from the hole. He walked off the 17th with a bogey, which moved him back to 7 under par. I don't know whether he had a look up at the scoreboard or not, but he probably realised he could have done with a birdie on the last. Unfortunately though, his approach came up short, and this was for par. Nicely in though, and he's happy. You don't want to finish with 2 bogeys, and there's a lot of world ranking points available. Jack finishing in a tie for 7th at 7 under. Back down 17, Bradley Neal was 10 under with this putt, but that was for a par. It slid past, and Bradley fell back to 9 under par, but still in the lead out on the course. Yes, well, it was all a bit too much for some of the spectators. The sun beating down. Out in the group behind, the New Zealander Ty Coe had faded in his final round, unfortunately. That was a nice par putt, but he eventually finished the tournament in a tie for 20th at 2 under par. All attention now on the 17th was with his playing partner Grant Forrest, who was at 8 under par, needed this to save par, and he did. A great clutch putt just when he needed it to stay in contention. Moving on to the 18th, 1 shot behind Bradley Neal. Bradley had this for a birdie to finish at 10 under par, but again it just slid past, and yes, it left him one of those little tricky putts to finish at 9 under. Conditions pretty calm with the low early evening sun shining on the spectators. Now, could Bradley see this in, take the clubhouse lead at 9 under? Never in doubt. A great performance. A 4 under par 68 for his final round, and all he could do now was sit and wait and watch. Federico Zucchetti, well, he had a chance coming up 18, but he'd fired his approach way past the pin, and he had this to save par, finish at 8 under in a tie for third. He really had been a pleasure to watch this week, and he knows it could have been a different story. Perhaps we'll see him back here one day. In the final group, Grant Forrest had unleashed a massive drive into the Valley of Sin, and his second shot rolling up just pin high and leaving a tricky putt for a birdie to finish at 9 under par and tie with Bradley Neal. Just that awkward length that you really don't want to miss, and especially in front of a big gallery, and that went in the side door, but in it went. Great effort from Grant, and after 72 holes, we were guaranteed a Scottish winner for the first time in 6 years, as Grant and Bradley were locked together at -9. After a nice drive, it was Grant to go first, with his approach on the sudden death playoff in the first. And he found the green, but he was still some distance from the flag, perhaps 30 foot. Next up, Bradley. For both of these players, it really would be the biggest victory of their career so far as an individual. An awful lot at stake. And after that approach, it was advantage Bradley Neal. Big crowds had stayed on to see the culmination of this fantastic tournament. Bradley keeping calm, waiting for Grant to go first. There's quite a slope, more than it looks on the camera here. Down from the ball and a bit of a borrow. And what about that from Grant Forrest? A magnificent birdie 3. And all of a sudden, that hole has shrunk in size for Bradley Neal. He had made up 5 shots during the day to get back to the top of the leaderboard alongside Grant. But it was all or nothing with this putt. And it just slid by the left edge, which meant that the 2014 St Andrews Links Trophy champion was Scotland's Grant Forrest.
A lot of the top amateurs in the world here, so to come out on top of those, it's always great. And the Scottish guys, you know, I think we had 7 in the top 12 coming into today. I'm not sure how it finished, but the top 2 were Scots, so you know it's great for Scottish golf, for the SGU. And it's great looking forward. You know, Bradley, he's had a great season so far. Just brilliant things ahead of him, I think. And he's only 18.
And how does it feel to win such a big title at the home of golf?
I said that to my caddy as we're walking down the first. I just kind of took a step back and said, you know, look at this. We're going down the first at St Andrews in a playoff. With loads of folk watching. Doesn't get much better than that. And
a putt fit to win any tournament anywhere in the world.
I'd left a couple of putts short towards the end of the round, and you know that one was quite fast after the hole. But I felt really good with the line. It was pretty straight overall. Honestly, it looked in all the way, the last 5 or 6 feet, and then it went right in the middle. So I was delighted.
Congratulations, Grant Forrest, St Andrews Links Trophy champion 2014.